I opened my eyes to darkness. The room was still. I could not speak. I could not move, but I could hear my husband's voice.
Low.
Nervous. Too close. And then, a woman laughed. Her voice was familiar. Intimate. She has no idea. Felix, the woman whispered. Last night was perfect. Sleeping beside you in her bed, in her hospital room, it felt
right.
My heart started racing. A sharp beep screamed from the monitor beside me. Sho, he hissed. She is hooked to a machine. She cannot hear a damn thing. I knew that voice. It was my best friend, Marcia. I wanted to scream. I wanted to tear every cord off my body and rip the lies out of their mouths. But my body was frozen, and that was just the beginning of the truth they thought I would never hear. Before I continue, I want to thank every one of you who has subscribed to this channel. Your support means the world. To all our new and returning viewers who have not subscribed yet, I cannot wait for you to hit that subscribe button. It is the fuel that keeps this channel alive. And please, do not forget to share your thoughts in the comments. I read them all. Now let me take you deeper into the nightmare I woke up inside. My name is Loretta. I was 34 years old when I was hit by a drunk driver on my way home from work in Columbus, Ohio. I spent 11 days in a coma. Felix, my husband, had been by my side through every crisis in our marriage, or so I believed. He was the kind of man everyone called loyal,
calm,
dependable. But the accident did something I never expected. It did not just break my body. It revealed the monsters who had been smiling beside me all along. Felix and I had been married for 7 years. Our love had faded, sure, but I thought it was from stress, money, career changes, the usual things. Marcia had been my best friend since college. She helped plan our wedding. She stood next to me in every milestone. When I told her I could not have kids, she held me while I cried. I never imagined she would take my husband when I could not fight back. The ICU was cold, filled with beeping machines and the scent of antiseptic. I felt like a ghost trapped in my own body. No one knew I was conscious, not even the nurses. But I could hear, and what I heard made me wish I had not woken up at all. The day before my emergency surgery, I lay still as they entered my room again. I miss you already, Marcia said softly. Felix chuckled. You can come back tonight.
Just do not wear perfume this time.
The nurses noticed. I stared into the blackness behind my eyelids. Tears rolled down my cheeks.
Silent. Burning.
She touched him. I heard her fingers sliding against the cotton of his shirt. In my hospital bed, where I could have died, where they had just discussed whether I would even survive the next day. They had no idea I could hear them. Then came the words that splintered my soul completely. If she dies tomorrow, Marcia whispered, no one will ever know. And Felix, he did not argue. The silence was my only shield. If they knew I was awake, they would hide the truth. But as long as they thought I was unconscious, they spoke freely, like two devils who believed the soul in the bed had already left. I lay there for hours, pretending to sleep while my mind screamed. My hands did not move. My lips stayed frozen. But my brain recorded everything. They visited every day. And every day, the performance continued. To the doctors and nurses, Felix was the grieving husband, holding my hand, praying for a miracle. To Marcia, he was something else entirely. A lover, a co-conspirator, a man already planning a life without me. He kissed her when they thought no one was watching. They laughed. They shared inside jokes. They flirted like teenagers over my broken body. And it did not stop there. 3 days before my surgery, I heard something that made my blood go cold. Marcia said, the hospital gives spouses the right to decide, right? If it gets worse, Felix replied, "Yeah. They said if she goes into organ failure again, they will ask me if I want to keep her on life support." She said, "Maybe it is time to let go. You have already lost her, Felix." He was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, "I know." I stopped breathing. Not physically, but emotionally, mentally, something inside me just stopped. My husband was ready to let me die. My best friend was encouraging it. And all I had was time and silence. But that silence became my weapon. The next day, I had a nurse place my phone in the drawer beside my bed. She smiled, assuming it was a comfort item. She had no idea I would use the voice memo app to start recording everything. Every whispered betrayal, every kiss, every moment they let their guilt slip through the cracks. I recorded it all. My fingers had begun to twitch. My eyelids fluttered when I was alone. The doctors were amazed by the progress. But I told no one, not yet, because I needed proof. Proof that the people I trusted the most had not just betrayed me, they had planned to erase me. The recordings were messy at first, muffled voices, distant footsteps. But I caught enough. I caught them laughing about the life insurance policy Felix increased 2 months before the accident. I caught Marcia mocking my wedding vows. I caught Felix calling my coma a blessing in disguise. I felt something change inside me. The part of me that wanted to forgive
Died.
The part of me that wanted to survive came alive. Then one afternoon, Marcia whispered the sentence that turned my pain into fury. Maybe she would not be here if she had not picked that fight before the crash. "You pushed her, remember?" And Felix said, "She always made things harder. She deserved this." The moment Felix said I deserved what happened to me, something inside me ignited. Not rage, not sorrow, power. For weeks, I had been trapped in silence, recording, remembering, enduring. But now, I had everything I needed. I was no longer the helpless woman lying in a hospital bed. I was a witness, a survivor, a woman sharpening her truth like a blade. By the time my surgery arrived, I was stable enough to fight. The doctors were astonished at my recovery. They called it divine, a miracle. But they did not know that survival was no miracle. It was strategy. I never told Felix the first was awake. Not even after I could speak again. I waited. I listened. And when the surgery was successful and the feeding tube was removed, I asked for one thing: my phone. That night, while Felix slept in the visitor's chair, the same chair where he once held Marcia's hand, I uploaded the recordings to a secure cloud. Then I sent them to a journalist I had followed for years, a woman who specialized in exposing abuse and betrayal. I told her everything. I used a fake name. I told her she could release it publicly, and that I had more if needed. I did not expect what happened next. Within 24 hours, the audio files went viral. Headlines flooded the internet. Wife in coma overhears husband and best friend's affair while they plot her death. Ohio woman exposes infidelity and murder talk from ICU bed. The recordings were played on morning shows. News anchors called it chilling. Podcasts discussed every second of their whispered betrayal. Social media erupted with fury. People called me a hero, a fighter, a genius. Felix was fired from his job. His employer called his actions immoral and damaging to the company's image. Marcia lost her nursing license after her identity was confirmed. The hospital said her behavior violated every standard of care. Felix tried to contact me. He left voicemails crying, begging, blaming. "You made this public," he said. "You embarrassed me. You ruined my life." No apology. No remorse. Just shame. His own, reflected back at him. I never answered. Instead, I changed my number. I moved in with my sister. I started therapy. I stared at myself in the mirror for the first time in weeks and whispered, "You survived." Because I did. Not just the accident, not just the coma, but the betrayal that should have killed me. I was no longer the woman who needed Felix's love. I was the woman who chose herself. So, if you are listening to this and you have ever felt powerless, let me tell you something. Silence can be survival, but truth is freedom. Would you have released the recordings like I did? Would you have confronted them face to face? Let me know in the comments below. Do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Your support means everything, and it keeps these stories alive. Thank you for listening.